I once exhibited next to a Supplier at a trade show in Germany. And at this particular point in my career, I was a lot more experienced in the industry that I was in. And this particular company was relatively new. I believe they'd been on the market just for a couple of years. And they developed this one particular product, just one item. And it was a great idea. It was beginning to sell pretty well around the world. But they had this attitude of complete and utter distrust. So their attitude was they felt that pretty much everyone that would come to see them and visit them at the trade show were trying to copy their product. So they used very aggressive confrontational language. If someone they were talking to asked them a question, they may say something because I was next to them. My booth was right next to them. I could hear what was going on. They would say something like, "That's a very specific question." Or, "Sorry, no photos." Or, "Let's just keep this general for now." Or, "I prefer not to go into this." And for me, I remember thinking to myself, well, that's really not the best way to go about developing your business. The language that you use is absolutely critical if you want to have the first step on the ladder, if you like, towards a good and fruitful relationship. My attitude was in direct contrast to this particular company. Possibly because of my experience, I understood the fact that copying was just a fact of life in the space in which we lived. And to completely protect yourself and cocoon yourself from that, it simply wasn't possible. My mindset had completely and utterly changed by that point. I realized very clearly that without risk, there was no hope of reward. You had to take a calculated risk. You couldn't just be reckless in terms of your risk taking. But nevertheless, if you wanted to move forward, you had to take a calculated approach. And by that, I meant that you just had to go slowly with new business. You just have to take a step-by-step approach, give a little bit and work up from there. Not all in from the start. Just take it very, very slowly. And then the business will grow. Because in business, if you lead with distrust, you don't in fact protect yourself. You end up pushing people away. And that is no long-term strategy at all. So back to the supplier that I was exhibiting next to. 1 year went on, and he spent the whole of that year rushing around the world, pursuing people which he felt had been trying to copy his product. And when I met him the following year, he was exhibiting again at the trade show, but this time he was under a lot more pressure. Business hadn't gone particularly well. He hadn't secured really any more new customers. He'd certainly not developed any product. And for me, he had no future at all. And unfortunately, the year after that, he went out of business. So it does just go to show that whilst we have to protect ourselves in business, there needs to be a calculated risk. We may not trust people. That is human nature. But we have to take a calculated approach to developing business. And our language needs to reflect that. Thank you for listening.